Sure. So thank you very much, Heather, for having me today. It's been a while that I wanted to connect with you, and this was the best opportunity now. I'm
Yes.
happy to be with you. So yes, my name is Omnia. I come originally from Libya, and I live in Jordan. I've done so many things in my life. I graduated as an architect, and then I worked for 5 years as a railway designer in different countries in the world. And after that, the revolution in Libya started, and I wanted to do something for my country. So I started with founding an NGO that cares about environment. And from there, I established with a Libyan businessman, a training center that cares about or focuses on information security and Linux operating system. So something completely different from what I used to do or what I know. But it was a very exciting journey. We started little by little, and in a very short time, we grew and we became regional. I had to escape Libya because of the war in 2014 and moved to Jordan, and I re-established myself and my company in Jordan. And since then, my company grew bigger and bigger, and we started working actually for the international market as well. And in 2017, I got married. I found my soulmate in Jordan, and I got married, and I had a kid, and I started my heart started to get attracted to something else rather than really doing business and so on. So I worked with the UN as a content writer, one of the people who were establishing the new, very first online business school in Libya. I was the tutor there and the content writer, yeah. And then I wanted to do something bigger and directly reach people's hearts and impact them. And from there, I started with my husband. Into beginning of 2020, with my husband, we started Bulbul Hub Academy for Public Speaking. And that's an academy that focuses on young people from 12 years to 17 years old, helping them learn more about public speaking, get trained, and break all the fears and boundaries they have around reaching the public. As we started a few months in, we had beautiful time with the first cohort of these amazing people. We were very inspired by them. And then the COVID started and we had to be in lockdown and everything stopped and we could not continue because this was meant to be something done offline, on ground, with the people. So from there, we needed to pivot and start a new journey, which ended up to be something we call Oratoria. It's a platform where we help aspiring leaders and impact seekers who are challenged with public speaking, who have the fear of public speaking, break the fear, find their voice, get the confidence to become eloquent speakers and confident leaders. And since then, we were able to train several people from around the world in public speaking, and we got more and more like insight about what we are doing as well, and about people's psychology and people's desires and fears and limitations, but potentials and all of these things. And from there, actually, I took on this journey as a person where my husband is doing something else right now. I got to learn more about coaching as I was asked to coach some of my clients on other things rather than just public speaking. And from there, I learned more about coaching, more about the brain and more about our thoughts and something called the 3 principles that actually, that's how we met. And that's how actually I met Michael. I learned about Michael in a coaching course about the 3 principles, and that's becoming now my passion, which is mainly peace building, starting from the peace within. And that's what led me to do the project that we met through, which we could talk about later as you like.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's such a fascinating journey. I had no idea. I mean, that's an awful lot of stuff, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
one hell of a life. And yeah, just to explain to anyone who doesn't know the three principles, and Michael Omnia is referring to Michael Neill, the author and coach that I've been training with or studying with for years too. And the three principles is what they call the inside out understanding, which is the nature of thought and how it impacts on our lives and ourselves. Yes, and you and I met on Michael's project, Creating the Impossible, which is it your first year doing?
Yes, it's my first year.
I mean, you are amazing, because I think it's my third or fourth year doing it. This is, for anyone again who doesn't know about it, is a 12-week course based on a book that Michael Neill wrote called Creating the Impossible, where you set yourself a target, well, not a target, you kind of, I don't know, give yourself an idea of something you'd like to achieve or create in 12 weeks. And then play with it, play with different ideas, and see what happens. And the idea is not necessarily to achieve it, but to learn more insight on the way, on the journey. And I personally have done it, as I say, for a few years, and I've never achieved or done what it is that I've set out to do. But I'm absolutely, I can't wait for it to come around the following year, because it's such an amazing journey. And actually, strangely enough, I do tend to get my my project sorted out about 2 or 3 years later. So it's kind of a weird kind of time lapse. But the way that we met was because your project was so aligned with the work that I do about singing. And it's interesting that your background is in public speaking and working with people's fears. I mean, mine is about singing and working with people's fears and getting through in that way. So your project, let's go back to what your project was, if you could explain, and what it was you were trying to do, and where you were starting from.
So when I first started the program, Creating the Impossible, I was thinking, Michael asked us to have 3 projects and then try to see, kind of evaluate them, whether they're really impossible project, they have less than 20% chance for success. And this project was something that I desired to do for a long time, but I never saw the right time for it, which is really singing. And singing not for the desire just to sing or to be popular or just to do something out there, but really to help inspiring people through songs. Singing is something I like to do, but I don't do. I'm not a singer. I've never learned to be a singer before starting this program. But I love singing and I love music, and I see the impact of songs on my life, on my own life. And I know that no matter how many videos we put out there and inspiring quotes and posts and social media and so on, usually it doesn't reach as many people as songs can reach. And that was my real intention, is to put a song out there that would inspire people's lives to live in more peace, to bring peace to their lives. And that's where I started. I started from zero. I saw it as an impossible thing to publish a song in 90 days where I've never sang before, and I don't play any instrument at all. And I've never written a song before. So I used to write some poems in Arabic when I was a teenager, but that's it, nothing more. I stopped since then. So I'm not even a writer. And that's where I started, completely scratch for me. It seems very impossible and very exciting.
So the impossibility of it, was it that did you have sort of internal thoughts about that? Was there insecurity, or was there just that you didn't know the actual steps to take, or what was it that you felt what was difficult to start with? What did you consider to be difficult?
That's a very good question. In fact, there were different elements. Starting from the voice, I knew that starting from an older age to learn to sing will take longer time. That's at least what I used to know and what I expected. And I thought, okay, it would take me so long until I reach a point where my voice is representative of anything, or comfortable to listen to, not beautiful, but at least comfortable to listen to. So that was number one. And then I don't know any steps. I didn't know anything. So I knew that there's a learning curve that I have to go through. And then also there is the cultural perspective, where in my culture, it's not something that is acceptable so much that women sing.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And I'm here talking specifically about the Libyan culture, less of the Jordanian culture, but really the Libyan culture, which is not very acceptable, especially for a person who has who built a reputation and comes from a certain family and so on. It's not very acceptable. It's not very respected.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was something that I kept in the back of my head that I did not really think about so much. And I know that eventually anything that's unusual for the society is usually scary and not acceptable for the society. It's just because it's unusual, just because maybe some people who took this journey in the past did not do it so well, maybe. So they got an impression about everybody who intend to take the journey.
Yeah.
So I came from all these different ideas about how it could go, but I wanted to have just an open heart. It's an impossible project, and I will just go the journey. I don't need it to happen. I'll just see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, just to explain to people as well, the creating the impossible model, if it is a model, what Michael always tells us is to think of a project that would make us gasp, grin, or giggle if we got it. So we didn't have anything on it in particular. It wasn't going to, be this massive thing, but just something that would give us a huge amount of pleasure to be able to do, but also wouldn't break our hearts if we didn't. So the whole, it leaves a lot of space for playfulness and exploration and all different kinds of curiosity along the way. And I'm just fascinated by that element, Omnia, about the societal thinking or your thinking about your culture and your history and your past. It's not an element that would ever have occurred to me, obviously. So this is just another thing that comes into your experience that isn't necessarily one that would occur to other people. So, and for most people that I work with who are starting singing as adults, that isn't one of the elements that would come into it. It's more about a kind of a personal demons and fears and that kind of thing. But yours is got more layers to it. So that's interesting. So what happened? How did you approach it? What was your journey like?
Well, I started with just getting a singing coach, starting with a singing coach, and exploring my voice. And I've been kind of very well surprised with the potential of any voice, apparently, not just my voice. I learned more about it, and I was able to do things that I never expected that I could do. It's like singing opera songs. That was for me something that only very special people can do, not me. And I discovered that I have a soprano voice, which in my head was something really big, but I figured out that it's a physical thing uh, that's related to how our chords are, the length of our chord maybe. So I was able to sing songs that I loved so much, but seemed too big for me. And that was one of the very first discoveries, very first beautiful discoveries for me, that I'm enjoying it, the new thing that's coming out of me that I never thought that it was inside.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think particularly when you talk about, learning operatic arias and going at it from that angle, I always think to so many people that's such a surprise, that people think that kind of operatic singing is reserved for, as you say, very special people who have particular gifts and skills. But actually, it's, as I'm always saying, it's kind of like learning a sport, that there are techniques, that there are ways to do it. And once you access those ways of using your physical instrument in a particular way, that you can access those things. But what's lovely is to me to hear the way that you've approached it with such an open heart. And and not sort of marred by all this terrible self-doubt and self-loathing that a lot of people seem to bring to the table. So when you were younger, you were saying that you would write songs in Arabic and you would do other things like that. Did you have a pretty kind of uncomplicated relationship with your thoughts about your voice when you were growing up, or
Well, that's actually an interesting question, because as a child, I grew up in a family from my mom's side of people who have beautiful voices. So my mom had a beautiful voice, my grandma, my mom's aunts from her mother's side, they all had beautiful voices, but they would all sing privately. However, in my small family, me and my siblings, we did not have that talent. We thought we did not have that talent. We all love music, we all love singing, but or songs, let's say songs, but we believed that we did not have that talent. But I was one of them who loves to sing all the time, and I was in many times that I would sing, and my siblings would say, "Stop it! Your voice is ugly," or "It's not a nice voice. We don't want to listen to this. So stop singing." And that's how this is what I grew up hearing, that you don't have a beautiful voice, so don't sing because you're annoying us. However, I remember the first time that somebody ever said something that made me think, okay, maybe my voice would be acceptable for people to listen to, was when I was in high school and I had a friend whom would ask me to sing to her. And she says, "You have a beautiful voice and I want you to sing to me." And then what actually encouraged me to rethink all of that, because for a very long time I did not think about it. Singing was just for home, and I lived alone for a long time, so I could sing. I could do it without worrying about what people think about it. But then when I met my husband, and as we were very close friends in a community, actually we met in the Toastmasters community, which is, for those who don't know, Toastmasters International is, I think, the oldest public speaking organization in the world. It's almost 100 years old, and they have clubs all over the world. And we met in a Toastmasters club in Jordan. And in this club, we would always do activities outside. And in these activities, when we go to the desert or we go to the Dead Sea or whatever, I would just sing for my friends. And who was then my best friend, he would always say, "You have a beautiful voice, I want you to sing to me." And that made me think, okay, maybe I do have something that someone would like to hear. And then when we got married, he would always keep saying it, that you have a beautiful voice, I love your voice, and you're no less than all of these singers. He would listen to a very beautiful song and he'd say, "Okay, Omnia, no, your voice is no less than this." Which I know deep inside that these people are very, not only talented, but skilled. They have the skill, I don't have the skill. And but that's how his ear heard me, which meant for me that people have different perspectives, and I don't need to appeal to everyone if I want to sing, but some people would like to hear the way I sing. And that was the very first encouragement, actually, for me, that if my husband loves it, if actually my best friend, who was then the one from high school, who became then my sister-in-law as well, she also loved it. That encouraged me to think about it more.
yeah,
And that's what brought more confidence in me that something can happen.
yeah. And what about when you sing? How does it make you feel when you hear yourself or when you feel yourself sing? Beyond other people's experience. What's your experience? Do you love the sound of your voice, or do you not judge it? Do you just sing? What tell me what happens?
Actually, I mainly do not judge. I just enjoy the singing.
Yeah.
I enjoy the act of the singing, and it makes me happy. And also then when I decide to record sometimes, I can hear something nice of it. So it's something that I like to listen to, even for myself. Not as the big famous singers in the world, but it's good enough for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's wonderful, isn't it? That we can just enjoy the act in the moment of actually just creating the sound, just using the body as an instrument, and just having that experience of the breath becoming audible, becoming music. And that's a wonderful experience. And it's a shame when so many people just stop themselves at that point, that there's so much thinking that comes up about it and what it means and what it doesn't mean and what someone's going to say, what someone's going to think, or some story from the past. Just stops that beautiful moment of just being present with your own sound. So it's just wonderful for me to hear that kind of, that you have that confidence. It's not even confidence, it's just acceptance of who you are, isn't it? Which is lovely. So tell me more about the project, about the Impossible Project. So we had this experience of you've chosen your project and you've started having singing lessons and developing your voice. So was it easy all the way through, or was it ups and downs? Or tell me what happened.
It was actually ups and downs in many ways. The very first thing is that I figured out I was using my voice wrong, which made some problems in my voice. And actually, I started the voice lessons while I was facing some issues with my voice, using it in public speaking so much, but using the wrong breath. I wasn't breathing the right way. And all of that made some issues for me. So it was a little painful in the beginning. So that was one element, which is more physical, but also the feeling lost in the middle, because in my mind, I needed to wait until my voice is good enough to do anything else. So I continued my voice lessons, and the only thing I did next was to take some songwriting courses. So I enrolled myself in Coursera, so a songwriting course in Coursera, to learn more about songwriting. But I didn't know what else to do. And if you remember, the very first time we got in contact was on a week where we had to ask people for something to do to help us. To ask anyone anything to help us proceed. And I did not know what to ask, because I knew that I have to wait. I'm learning how to sing and I'm learning how to write a song. What would I ask anyone until I have this ready, until I have my voice ready and my song written? What can I ask anyone to do? And what was exciting for me is that as I said that out loud to the community, to Michael and in the community, I said, I don't know what to ask. I got people contacting me. One of them is you, Heather, and thank you very much for that, and saying, let's talk. So some of those people were people who work on songwriting or in creation, music creation in general, and that was a start of a new journey for me. That was on its own an amazing thing that generated out of the Impossible Project. It's not directly related, it's not only directly related to the songwriting and song creation, but it impacted my life. So I was in contact with 2 more people, and one of them ended up being my life coach. But even before that, talking about the conversation I had with this person, his name is also Michael, he's from Germany.
Oh, Michael, is he the composer?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful, yes.
Yeah. So in the conversation I had with Michael, he pointed at something I've never thought existed. Although learning about the 3 principles and so on, like 1, 2, 3, and all of this thing, but he did something to how I look at things that I've never experienced before. So basically what he said, okay, tell me a melody. I said, okay, how can I tell you? He said, just hum it if you want. And I said, okay, I'll hum something that's in my head, that like of a song that I was thinking of. And he said, wait, How about you hum something that's not there in the world yet? I was like, okay, what does that mean? If it's not there, how can I hum it? He said, just relax and hum something from you, generates in you. And I did. And I liked it. And he played it on the piano, and it sounded really nice. And that was the thing that I discovered. It's not about learning and having all these strategies and understanding the structure of the song and so on. It's just about connecting with your deep self, with your innate intelligence, and trusting in your creativity. Just say it. You don't need to be scared. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to have a strategy. You don't need to have guidance.
Yeah.
You have it from the inside.
Yeah.
And that was the very first discovery. That's something I used to do before when I said I was writing poems and so on. I was a teenager, and I didn't think so much. I would just put something out there, and it doesn't matter how it is. Yeah. But now, the person I am today, and with everything I've done in my life and my reputation and all of these things, and I teach people strategies, I needed a strategy. I thought I needed a strategy. But I figured out I don't need a strategy. I only need to connect with me.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful to hear, because it's just stepping out of your own way, isn't it? Briefly, just long enough just to get your thinking away, just to let things take the gates up and let it happen. And when you've got somebody like him on the other side to catch you, so he was able to take what you sang and to play it back to you on the piano, and then you can hear it. You can hear it created sort of outside of yourself as well, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And so was that the bedrock of the song that you ended up singing, or what happened?
So the remaining of the conversation with him, I asked him, okay, what can I do now? And he's just said, write a song, put something out. And he said, okay, you don't need to write the song, just put songs out there, write songs and see if you like them. It might be it, it might not be it. And I was so much in my head saying, okay, then what's next? Then what comes next? What should I do? And I said, just put your song out there. You would know then.
Yeah.
Then will happen then. So you don't need to worry about it now. And that inspired me. Here's the interesting thing. That did not only inspire me to write a song, but inspired me to dig deeper in the 3 principles. And that's what I kept doing. I was looking for more material about the 3 principles and learning more about them. And for maybe perhaps 2 weeks, I actually kind of stepped back from the songwriting and from my project and was very immersed in the research. So connecting with coaches, getting to know more, listening to Sid Banks recordings and videos and all of that, until I reached a point where I really don't feel it anymore, meaning my project. Do I really want to write a song? I don't feel it. Why would I? And so again in my head, why would I? Okay, I don't think I want to do that. But what happened then, that while listening, while discovering, having more insight about the 3 principles, something kept singing in my head that it's just a thought in your head. It's just a thought in your head. That was in my head. And I thought, okay, this could be something. This could be something, but I didn't take the time to make something out of it until there was a weekend, on one weekend, where usually I'm with my daughter on the weekend. We're very busy and I don't really have so much time for myself. But one evening, or one actually afternoon, my husband took my daughter outside. They went out shopping, and I had a few hours for my own. And in these few hours, usually what I do is to take my phone and continue learning from other people's wisdom. I only have a short time, so I can really be productive at work, but I try to use my time productively by learning something new. And I just said to myself, okay, let's do things differently now, today. Rather than listening to other people's wisdom, how about I try to connect with my own wisdom? So I shut off my technologies, took a notebook, which I rarely do recently, just a notebook and a pen, and connected with myself. And something started flowing. I don't know, I was just singing. Actually, not even that. Actually, okay, I have to correct that. Now going back to it, what I did is not even a notebook yet. I switched on the recorder in my phone and started singing without any preparation. I just started singing and singing and singing. And then I stop, and then something else comes up, and I started singing and singing. And then I was listening to my recording and putting it down on paper based on the recordings. And something happened. And I recorded it fully at last, after arranging, after seeing how it looks and seeing, okay, what part should be first and what part second. And then when my husband came back, I made him listen to it. And he was really astonished. He was very surprised and positively, and said, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. Which, okay, it raised up my confidence much more, because it was just for me. I didn't know how it would sound for anyone. So that's how it was created. Few days later, I kept working on it and adjusting and doing more things, but the inception was just me singing from nothing.
Yeah. And this was the song that you ended up singing a cappella to about 300 people on our Zoom call in the group, and everybody was moved so much, because it just felt that the content was so much the basis of what the three principles are, that it's all about the nature of thought, and so this whole sort of journey that came from you starting as a kind of non-singer, as a non-songwriter, going all the way through trying to find a technique, and then deciding you actually didn't need a technique, but all these things resulted in this beautiful song that you sang to us all, which was very moving, and the simplicity. I think this is the thing, like folk music moves people because of its simplicity, because its authenticity, and the way that you sang it was very much just authentic. It had that beautiful authenticity to it. And so how did you feel when you were actually singing it to the group? Because it was quite it felt like it was quite spontaneous. I don't know if you'd planned it or what had happened. What
happened, so the same week I created the song, I wanted to sing it to the group. I wanted to see the impact of it on the group, because I knew this is the very community that could understand what I'm saying beyond the simple words. And so I wanted to sing it. I was prepared, and my husband was logged in as well on Zoom, and we're prepared and we want to do it. And what happened is that we figured out it was the time change, and we missed the meeting. So I came at the very last minute of the meeting. So I missed that meeting. And because of that, I wanted to do it the week after, but the time didn't work for me. And actually also the week after was the week where we didn't have one meeting. We had several meetings every single day. So there was no time for me, and all of these times did not work with me. It was my daughter's bedtime, so I couldn't do it. And on the day then when I sang it, I actually missed almost half of the meeting because my daughter didn't sleep that day. She had trouble sleeping, and I thought, okay, this is not happening, but let me log in anyway. I love to hear everybody. So I logged in. I put my hand up, knowing that usually I wouldn't get a chance to talk. And some people were before me. Actually, when I got to speak, 3 people were before me, but one of them dropped. It was the very last 5 minutes of the call, and I was like on my desk, just not even, my hair is not well prepared, nothing. I didn't expect it will happen. I wasn't even prepared emotionally for it, but it was meant to happen. It was the last 5 minutes, and they picked me to speak, and yeah, I was surprised to have that. And I knew it's only 5 minutes, so I don't have time to think about it. I just have to do it. And that's how it happened. It was completely spontaneous.
Spontaneous, and yet not spontaneous, because when you were trying to make it happen, it didn't happen. And
Exactly.
then at the last minute, yeah. So that's amazing. I just remember, there was a real, it's funny with Zoom, isn't it? Because we've all had to adapt our lives over the past year to communicating this way. And in many ways, it's been wonderful because so many of us are in touch with each other who wouldn't normally be. But also what has surprised me, because I've been running, singing courses and stuff like that on Zoom since lockdown as well. What really struck me about what you did was that you were able to create atmosphere. Just, and all of us, we're all dotted around the world. There's 300 of us in America, in, Australia, here, London, Jordan, everywhere. And yet you are there with your computer, no instruments, just your voice. And everybody was like, it really was amazing that you managed to create that magic in that moment. And it's wonderful that we've got the recording of the audio that Lynn has shared with us for that. So have you got plans to record it? Will you be recording your song and making it available?
That's what I wish to do, actually. So I'm with Michael. He offered generously to do the music, the piano work for it. But I'm also hearing it done with a violin, and I don't have any violin player around me. I was trying to find someone, and seems like I would need a studio or a very good microphone, but you see I have noise outside from the window. So all of these little things, so that made me also take a little step back to see, rather than pushing hard for it, to see what would happen, just doing little steps and see what would happen. So I'm not really in a hurry to do anything. I feel that, okay, I have the song, I have the energy, I'm working on my voice, and I have amazing people that I've met meanwhile. I'm not feeling the urgency of acting upon it right now, although our project time is ending this week.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the flow. I'm not allowing it to be a stress or a load, a burden on me, but just something beautiful that I have, and whenever I want, I can make something out of it.
Yeah. I think that's what's lovely. Yes, I mean, the 12 weeks of the actual program that we're doing is finishing, but I always think of that as that it's finishing in terms of the pattern that we've got going in terms of coming together, but actually the projects are ongoing. The things that it's all about learning, isn't it, to go with your own wisdom, to go with your inner GPS system, which has sort of brought you to this point that you thought that it was going to be this way, but actually it ended up being that way. And almost when you stopped altogether, that's when things started to take off. And this is just a wonderful sort of lesson to all of us, that sometimes the thinking that we've got about something is of no value whatsoever. In fact, it can probably just stand in your way. And in fact, if we just go with our one next good step, those are the things that take us in the right direction. And so what's lovely about this is well, I mean, what I'm fascinated by really about what you've said is this added layer of what singing is, and the fact that it wasn't respectable for you to do it in the first place, that you had that added layer of why you shouldn't sing. And you've got the siblings, you know, taking the mickey out of you when you were little, and just kind of finding your voice beyond all that. And then, you know, in the pattern of the program that we've done, connecting with people, connecting with Michael, connecting with the people who've supported you in this process, but more importantly is connecting with yourself and going quiet and just knowing that sometimes you don't have to do anything, that you've discovered that you have this voice, that you can sing as a soprano, that you can use breathing techniques, that all these things can be useful to you. But actually, when it comes down to it, have a little bit of time to yourself, switch on your phone, open your mouth and see what comes out. And then, you know, it was so moving. I keep going on about this. When you sang a cappella to the group, it was incredibly moving, because we'd all shared the journey of you saying it initially, what it was you wanted to do and why it was a crazy idea. And, you know, and then we all sat there and listened to you sing. It was absolutely magical. And so, I mean, I'm just excited to know what comes next, and we'll find out, and you'll find out as you take your next steps, whatever they are and however long they take you. But yeah, I mean, how does this relate also, because your work as a coach in public speaking, you must work with people who have all sorts of fears and anxieties about that, because it's I think I'm right in saying it's one of the most high on the anxiety scale for a lot of people is public speaking. So you have a lot of experience of that from other people's perspective. So how does that pan out?
Actually, glossophobia is measured to be, there are researchers that say glossophobia is the highest phobia that people have in the world. Like 65% of people suffer from glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking. And this is actually what I try also to help people that I coach with through improvisation practice. Many of my coachees, when they start from the idea that I don't have stories to tell. I don't have a story. I don't know what to say. But then when they're in the moment, they talk beautifully. And they come up with amazing stories from their own lives. They just don't know it. And it all starts from really having faith in your own wisdom, having faith on what you would be able to come up with. And this is what I've learned for myself, because usually this is how, you know, when you're on the teacher chair, sometimes you kind of lose contact with what you already is telling people to do. And it's putting me again on the student chair, where I'm experiencing everything that I'm trying to help people with for my own. And the other aspect of it, beyond even the public speaking, that whatever action we take in our lives will take us somewhere. It doesn't have to be the target that we chose to take. And this is actually something I learned throughout my life. But it became very obvious in the short span of the 90 days project making, because I see it as probably it's not only about the song for me. It's about connecting with people like you, Heather, like Michael, and learning more about the 3 principles, where I'm able to help more and more people now through what I've learned. So the song is only a tool to push me in that path. But that's not just the pure purpose of it. And you know, this is something I've learned in small initiatives. When I started, for example, the NGO, the environmental NGO in Libya, with a purpose to help the community, that led me, through pure coincidence, to start my company that works in technology and training. So it was a little thing I did, a little initiative I did, that took me on a very long journey, a 6 years journey. And that's how my life continues to happen. And this is what keeps manifesting over and over again. When we feel stuck, we don't need just to be stuck, not do anything. Doing anything in any direction, no matter what, will get us somewhere, will get us unstuck somewhere. But we don't always need to know the end result, in my opinion. We don't always need to have a goal.
Yeah, and sometimes it makes sense backwards, doesn't it? You look backwards and you can see how things are. It's like Michael Neill always says, you know, if a stick gets stuck in a river, it doesn't need therapy, it just needs a nudge, you know, and that's it. You just need to keep moving forward and take the next step. And I also love the story or the thought of, you know, if you're driving down a lane at night and it's dark, that your headlights only illuminate the little area just in front of you. It doesn't illuminate, you know, the whole of the future journey, just that little bit. And you just need to just take the next step and see what opens up for you. And yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. And when you said about the fear of public speaking, what it made me think of is, in fact, sometimes it's the fear of the thought of public speaking. That really is, for me, probably more of a fear. If I've got a fear of anything, it's often the fear of what I perceive it to be rather than the actual thing, because quite often you get to do the thing and you realize that the fear isn't there, or it's about something else, or the fear is just a thought. And so this thing about, you know, people that I work with who are frightened of singing or who have terrible anxieties, that really when you unpack that and you see that the fear is thinking around it and what it means and how something has made you feel in the past, or how you perceive something's going to make you feel in the future, that it's all the thinking. And actually the steps to take are as you did, you know, you just do whatever feels, what occurs to you to do. And that might be to have the training, or to, you know, connect with a coach, or to just sit down quietly and just see what comes through. But yeah, just taking another step. And that's wonderful. It's very inspiring. I mean, interesting, you know, your journey, your story, your song. Obviously there are hundreds of us on the Creating the Impossible journey together this year, and yours is just one. I mean, it's obviously resonated with me because singing is my job, but also just the way that you've been so visible, that you popped up every now and again in the calls, and just, you know, you started from this position of utter innocence of, I fancy doing this and I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And it's like, oh, okay, this is lovely. This is, you have nothing on it. You are so open to anything. And it's brought you to somebody who has sung a beautiful song that you've written in front of all those people, which I absolutely loved. And I do hope that you will have a recording of it that, you know, that we can possibly link to in this, so that people can hear it in context, because I think that would be wonderful. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking too much. So tell me, yeah, what are your big takeaways from your singing experience, from having done this?
So first of all, even before answering your question, Heather, it was amazing, just the power beyond the program. And that's one thing that I wanted to share, that the community is what pushes us to do what we wanted to do for ourselves. And the power of community, seeing what how other people are doing it. They're doing something completely different from us, but it's a new project for them. It's something scary for them. What I'm doing here is something that's not so new to you, but you can see someone who's starting new, freshly on this journey, and how they feel, which I would assume could resonate with how you're starting on your project freshly, without having so many planning and idea of what you wanted to pursue in here, and learning from each other. Most of the projects seem scary for their owners, but not so scary for others who've done them before. And just this experience show us how much our thoughts are linked to how we act in the world. Most of the time when something is scary, we stop doing it. it's too big to be done. And as you said, I like the metaphor you used about the car lights and what you can see on the path. So I wanted to emphasize on this because it's really incredible here. Now, going back to the singing and to your question, talking about my takeaways from the journey of singing, actually, okay, one of the very first takeaways was for me that it's such a hard job. Meaning, when I used to sing for myself without learning the right techniques, I would just do something and I wouldn't feel anything. But right now, using my breath and the muscles of my stomach and all my energy to put a song out, it feels like such an exhausting thing, which gives me so much respect to those who do it very well. Now I see it from a completely different perspective. A song well sang is coming really from consistency, from hard work, from commitment, and from love in the inside. If all of those are not happening, it would be very difficult for the person to put a song out that's really strong and well sang. And right now, when I try to sing some of the songs that I loved for big singers like Fayrouz, I don't know, do you know her? One of the most famous Arab singers.
No, I don't.
Actually, we call her our ambassador to the stars. Fayrouz, she's Lebanese.
Ah.
Yeah. So when I try to sing a difficult song for her, she has some very simple songs, but something difficult, I would feel so exhausted and drained after that because of all the breath work. And I see that if I want to continue and do something around that, I better give it the time, the consistency, and the work it needs. But if I want to just use it as something fun that I do on the side and just for me and my family and my community, then I could just enjoy it. But this is another thing that I appreciate, that in order to do good work, well intentions, wisdom, all of this is good, but also to put some practice. It's like sport, as you said, to put some practice in it. And no job well done is irrespectable, because a person put, if it's well done, then a person put a lot of practice, thought, and energy in it. So my perspective towards people who are pursuing this career has shifted, because I could feel a tiny bit of what they go through.
Yeah. I mean, there's singing and there's singing, isn't there? There are so many different sorts of singers. And I think that the technical side definitely has that necessity to build up the muscle, to build up the physical instrument, to become the instrument, for the instrument to be you, that, you know, when you're a classical singer or whatever. And then there are other sorts of singers who work with technology, who sing very quietly, but have processing going on with computers and amplifiers and all sorts of stuff like that. There are so many different ways of doing it. But yes, I mean, for most performances that you see have been either rehearsed and polished in some way, in some way. You know, it's not to take away from the spontaneous singers at all, but there are so many different sorts of singers, and we are all singers in any way that we want to be. But yes, as you say, the technical singing needs practice and work. Absolutely. And you get more of an insight into that, don't you, when you actually have to do it yourself and you realize the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. So are we going to be hearing more from you? We don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. This was an incredible journey, and I learned so much from it. And if I was able to inspire at least only a few people through the song and through talking to you here, through everything I've learned in the journey, then I feel that I already succeeded. And let's see what the future brings.
Absolutely, because I mean, the message in the song was beautiful, and I would love to find a way on here to be able to share to share it with people who are listening to the podcast. Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much, Omnia. We finally had a conversation, just the two of us, well, and anyone else who's listening. But I'm absolutely thrilled, and it's been wonderful to watch you, develop and grow through this whole thing, and then to finally hear your song. And I hope we'll stay in touch with each other and do this again next year, at least.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Not
I'm
at all.
really happy that we got this chance to speak. We wanted to speak since the beginning of the program, but we never got the chance to. This is an amazing opportunity now to speak. And next time, I would really want to hear also about your project.
Oh, yes, well, hopefully you'll read it at some point, because it's a book. I'm writing my book. Yeah.
What is it about?
It's about singing. It's about why people don't sing, and it's very much based on the sort of conversations that I have on this podcast about the reasons why people do not sing, and what has stopped them, and just different ways of thinking about how and why not. Just little techniques and ideas and thoughts and other people's stories. So that's what it is.
This is amazing. So maybe I hope I could bring a new element of it to your book and to your knowledge about the cultural restrictions through this conversation.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about that as well. It's not an angle I'd even thought about, actually. So that is completely eye-opening to me. So maybe we can have a few more conversations about that too.
With pleasure.
Good. Okay. Well, lovely. Thank you so much. So I'd just like to thank you so much for joining me, and I will hopefully see you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, and I will see you in the call. And thank you for the work you're doing through this podcast. I think you would be able to inspire so many people by publishing these episodes with also different people with different experiences. I will be looking forward to listening to more and more podcasts coming from you.
Good. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, Omnia. You take care of yourself.
Thank you, Heather. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.